Hi everyone. We have 1 minute left, maybe before the official start, but I think we can go ahead. Welcome to our Simplify webinar series. I'm Dragan Metikos, and I am a lead business RP analyst in Simplify and Partnership Manager. And today we'll discuss something that is very important for us in our work, and I think for every industry and organization, and that is lean. Um, Maybe some of you already heard about it. When we ask some clients or companies, usually they know it's something related to improving business processes, or they mention Kaizen, they mention some other terms, but we want to kind of now give you a clear, let's say, overview of what lean is, how lean can help you in improving your processes and your organization for the future growth. So that's something that we're going to discuss today. So this is the agenda for today. We will quickly cover in the first part just what is lean or lean thinking, what are some of the benefits that lean can bring to your company, and then some key concepts and tools for lean. And then on the second part of this webinar, we'll talk about the lean journey, or how you can start implementing lean in your company. What are some of the main, let's say, stages? And then for the actual implementation, we're going to give you some examples of lean tools and how we implement it in some of our companies and clients. And of course, feel free to add and put any questions in the chat, because at the end we can have a short Q&A session. I'll be happy to respond to all of your questions or comments regarding this topic. So let's first start by explaining, what is lean actually. So it is a management philosophy that aims to deliver, deliver the products or services to the customer, but in parallel to eliminate all of the unnecessary things along the way. Or to simplify it, it means that you want to achieve your goals in the most efficient way or least wasteful way. So, for example, for majority of companies, the main goal is, of course, to deliver, your products and services on time to the customer, because that's something that brings, revenue and success and growth to your company. But there are a lot of things along the way that can kind of, let's say, stop you from achieving that, which are called wastes, which we will talk about later on in more detail. But essentially, you want to focus on eliminating all of those activities that you don't need in your process. So, like many of these process improvement methodologies and philosophies, it originates in Japan. So from this one as well, from Toyota Production System, they were maybe the first ones that kind of, popularized this concept of process approach. So when you observe your company's work through processes, it helps you, to understand how your organization work easier, because you can see what are the, input information or files or parts that come to your process. Then what are the key activities that you do in order to, make, or produce something. And then at the end, you can see what are the results of your work. Are those products and services actually something that you wanted them to be, or what the customer needed, or do you have some issues with them? So the main objective of lean is, of course, to produce or deliver products and services at the right amount and the right time to your customers and meet their needs. And the secondary objectives are some, more towards your operations, which is, to make sure that the quantity of your products don't have big fluctuations, because this can lead to many problems, such as big inventories or issues with the delivery time and so on. Regarding the quality, you also want to make sure that your products and services are not faulty. They don't have some defects. They don't have some problems, because that's something that, of course, won't make your customers happy. And the third part is something that we will also discuss in more detail, which is, utilization of your resources. But one of the key ones is also people. So you want to try to utilize their skills and knowledge, especially of your experienced employees, in order to, let's say, make the full benefit of their knowledge. So for the benefits of lean, we kind of group them, let's say, or we want to highlight what are some of the financial or business benefits that your company can achieve. But it's pretty straightforward. If you improve your process and you eliminate some things that you don't need, of course, you're going to make this process more efficient, which will lead to, productivity increase. It would lead to cost reduction. So you will have financial savings for having a better process, improved process. But also, it can open up different opportunities, because by having a more efficient process, that means that you are able to deliver your products and services quicker to the customer, and that brings, customer satisfaction. But also, you gain competitive advantage on the market, because you're able to then respond to the market needs quicker, and you're also able to adapt to the market changes. So you have a level of flexibility by having, an improved process. And also, the last but not least, you also increase employee satisfaction, because when you have an improved process, that means the process runs with less problems, and that causes less stress for your employees and enables them, to focus on being more productive. Okay, so that was, let's say, a short introduction towards lean. Essentially, it focuses, or it's a philosophy that focuses on eliminating unnecessary activities in your process, and improving your processes. So now we're going to go over some of these key concepts, which are value, flow, pull system, and also people. So by value, you first want to identify what is a, let's say, valuable activity in your process. And in lean, we have these three main groups, which is customer value added activity. This is something that the customer is willing to pay. So for example, if the customer is buying a car, he's willing to pay for the tires, he's willing to pay for some, of course, car parts, for the paint job, for the dashboard, or some packaging of the seats, and so on, as well as some of the, parking sensors, navigation, and so on. So that's something that he's willing to pay for. So all of your activities in the process that require the paint job, assembly of these parts, the quality of these parts that you use are something that brings value to the customer. The second group is business value-added activities. And these are activities that customer is not willing to pay, but they are important for your company, because those activities are the ones that actually lead to producing a product or delivering a service. So, for example, the customer is not willing to pay for your suppliers that, supply you with some car parts. He's not willing to pay for some inventory of car parts, or some of those things, of course. But that's something that's necessary for your process of manufacturing a car. So that's something you definitely need in your business. And then the third ones are the ones that where lean focuses on, which are non-value added activities, or what we call wastes. So this is something that doesn't bring any value to the client nor to the business. So this could be, again, for this car example, it could be waiting for some car parts. This is something that doesn't bring value to both sides. Having a huge inventory that you need to pay for and you're losing money is, again, something that doesn't bring value to both sides. So those are the things where lean focuses on trying to eliminating them, or at least reducing them to, let's say, some acceptable level. Flow is the second thing that, as you can see, all of these three, let's say, parts are interlinked. So flow is essentially explaining that once you eliminate all of the wastes in your process, you also want to restructure your process to have a smooth, streamlined process and process parts, to avoid any, let's say, setbacks or distractions in that process. So when somebody, let's say, is assembling a car or some part of the car, let's say, for example, a door, we want from him to have a really good defined way of how he's going to do that without any, let's say, interruptions along the way. I don't know, his colleague is calling him and he wants some assistance for some other part or something like that, and then he needs to stop with his work. He needs to go to that employee, help him out, then return back and continue. We don't want that. We don't want that in our process. We want for him to have a pretty clear way of how he's going to pick up the parts, assemble them, and move forward. And then the third one brings us to this pull system. Essentially, a lot of the companies work, let's say, in the push system, which is actually the actual opposite. So a push system is, let's say, production where you produce something based on your forecast or your schedules, and you don't consider immediate demand. And that's something that can lead to a problem where you can then have an overproduction, you can have excess inventory. Again, in this car example, some car manufacturers before used to create, and manufacture, 50,000 cars. And what ended up is that the customers only bought, or the market bought only 15, 20,000 of them. And they ended up with big inventory and losing money. So many companies then try to switch to this pull system as a more efficient way of operating, which is, you work once you get a clear request from the customer. That is your trigger to start producing a product or a service towards the customer. Of course, again, that won't be, let's say, possible maybe in every scenario, but it is something that companies should lean towards. Having this way, you are much, safer of, having these inventories, having these overproductions, and you are also, again, still making sure that the customer receives their request or their product or service on time. And then the last one, respect for people, is that, the people who can help you with identifying some problems in the process or helping you to find ways how to improve it are actually the people who do it. So they have the experience, they are doing it every day, and they are the best, let's say, candidates towards helping you create a better process in the future. However, there is, let's say, a key factor that needs to be resolved before moving to this stage, which I will show you on the next slide. When we talk about these, again, unnecessary activities in your process or wastes, as you can see, we have nine of them. So with Lean, they focus more on these first 7 ones, which are more related to the process. The last 2 are more related to people. So you have waste such as transport, which is unnecessary movement of material, products, information within the process. You have inventory, as we said, it can be, tied to, your capital, so it may, lead to losing money. Then motion is unnecessary or excessive movement of people and, again, equipment. Waiting, as we said, is time to, that you wait to move forward in your process. You have overproduction, which is, you're producing more than you need or producing it too soon. Overprocessing is you're using more resources or step that is necessary to complete the task. And you have defects, which are some errors or mistakes that then require some rework or repairs or additional processes. And these are the things that you can find pretty much in every company, in every industry. If we talk about, we mentioned, okay, some of this car example as production, but if we talk about services, for example, a common, let's say, wastes are over processing, for example, where people are exporting some data from one system and then importing it to another system because these two systems don't communicate. So then a person manually needs to do that. That is something that is over processing. Something that's also is common is waiting. So you wait for your, I don't know, manager to approve something. You're waiting for the client to give a response. You're waiting for your suppliers. And these are all of the things that, again, are stopping you from moving forward with your work, which is, causing a waste in your process. So like I said, in order to, let's say, improve your processes and actually see these wastes and identify them, I would say the biggest waste in every process is always people. Why? Because as we said, like lean is more of a philosophy or a mindset towards improving your business processes. So what does that mean? It means that first you need to change your mindset, and that's much, let's say, more difficult than changing a process. So, people are creature of habits, and some people, execute the process, they've been doing it for, I don't know, 10, 15 years. So even though they maybe realize that maybe something is not, perfect and there are some problems, they have a fear of change and they don't want to change. So definitely, involving people and working with people to first change their mindset, especially those experienced, employees, is definitely something that once you reach out that breakthrough, it's something that's going to speed up this whole process of improving your business processes, because pretty much they are the best people who can give you list out all of the problems that they have in the process, as well as ways or ideas how the process could be better. I can tell you from our experience of working in these process optimization projects is that in 70 to 80% of cases we used some of the suggestions from the actual person who was doing the process on how we could improve it. So definitely this is something that is really important. As I said, these two last ones are, let's say, something that is more difficult to work on. So one is that you, let's say, have an employee that works on some process that he's overqualified for. So to give you a pretty simple example is having some manager or maybe a CFO working on some administrative task that he's not supposed to do. Or you can have an opposite example that maybe somebody who's underqualified is working on some process which can cause, again, some problems and setbacks. So for example, you put a, let's say, junior level of an employee to working on some task that requires a higher seniority and higher knowledge and experience. And ego is something, as I briefly mentioned, as I said, this challenge of changing the mindset, but it's also like something that where people think they already know what's the best, or they think that already their process is working perfect and they don't see, let's say, a need for change. So how you can start with your lean journey within a company. Here we added like these 5 key stages just to kind of briefly cover what are some of the key factors, let's say, that are impacting your lean journey. So definitely the best case, ideal case, is to first start with building up some foundation and actually educating people about lean. What's great is that lean is pretty simple, let's say, to understand. It's because it's based on pure logic, like of observing the processes, especially because it started in production systems. So they would observe the production lines. They would see how, and they would actually measure how long did it took for each part to be produced or each stage to be completed. And it was pretty simple to say, okay, let's change now the order of this part and this part, or this activity and that activity. And they will, again, able to measure it and then see, okay, the approach 2 shows better results. So therefore, it's better than approach one. So it's really easy to, when you ask some simple question and challenge the process itself, to kind of see what makes sense to eliminate. So it doesn't, let's say, require some high-level training to kind of introduce everyone to the basic concept and actually start working on developing this mindset of just questioning what you do, because people usually, when they come to the company, they just inherit some processes that now they need to do in every day, and they don't question it. They say, okay, I need to do, these are my tasks for today, I have some deadlines or whatever, I need to report to someone, and that's something that I will do. And on rare occasions, somebody would, kind of take a step back and say, well, is this actually necessary to do, or is there a better way to do it? So this is definitely something that, creates the biggest value for lean and implementing lean within the company, is to just have an impact on people's mentality to kind of question things, because this will lead to more and more conversations of what could be better, and then you will end up with having different teams communicating between each other, and creating some great initiative that can improve your business. Then the second thing is, then you want to kind of test it out, maybe find some pilot projects, some areas when you can implement lean. Again, I will show you have a lot of different tools that you can use and that are pretty simple to use or can be quickly implemented. So you can find and some good case where you can do that, and see the results and see what could be better or improved for the future projects. And then basically, once you were able to kind of see how the whole process looks like, then you can start with scaling. So you want to then integrate pretty much lean as a part of your organizational structure. Like I said, for example, we recently visited a company that had a pretty good knowledge of lean or business processes, and it was great to see how, let's say, IT can easily speak with marketing and sales and procurement. So they were all able to have this, let's say, one common language to understand each other, which was lean or business processes. So even though that maybe a person from marketing or HR doesn't understand terminology or some specifics of IT processes, they were easily able to understand each other by questioning the process towards these lean lenses, let's say, or to let's say, talk about the process itself, and discuss the ideas and how the process could be better. So this is something that, again, we always emphasize it's important to establish, because this opens the door for other things that you want to do in your company, which is to expand and to scale. And you can, what's great also, that you can integrate lean with other project initiatives, because process improvement is linked to whatever type of project you want to do. So if you want to, let's say, introduce a new ERP system, if your process is not, let's say, sorted out and it has some issues, what's going to happen is that you're probably going to have the same problems within the new ERP system. So the new technology or new tools don't necessarily always solve the problem. So you first need to kind of step back and resolve the let's say, issues within the process itself, and then switch to technology. I will also show you one example how Simplify combines lean with process automation. This is something that, what we call it, lean process automation, how we integrated lean in our work when we automate business processes. So, and then the last part is then having this, as we said, sorted processes, eliminating all of the waste. You create a great foundation to have a sustainable workflows, and therefore you're much more comfortable of changing your systems, scaling, and introducing new products and services, because you have, as we said, a good process flow of these things. Okay, so I would just, these are just the listed tools, some of the tools from Lean that you can use. As you can see, we already mentioned some of them, but for example, I will show you one of the best ways to kind of start is actually value stream mapping. So what does this mean is that the best way to kind of see what you can improve in your process is to have a good visual representation of these areas. And how you can do that is, first you can map out the process, and then you can actually observe and see where are the wastes that we have in the process that we can eliminate and work on. And value stream mapping actually shows you this. I will show you the example later on. Then we have the Kaizen. Kaizen is something that I think people usually, let's say, are familiar with. So it just means that you should have incremental changes or small changes every day, towards this path of growth and improvement. Then what's something that is also, I think, important to mention is this Gemba walk. So what Gemba means is to actually go and see how the process looks like. So I did mention, like for Toyota, how they used to record and watch, the production, of certain parts, and analyze them and look for, ways to improve them. So the same thing is for services. Like, you can create, what Simplify does is we create what we call shadowing sessions, or some of these interviews or workshops, where a person who executes the process shows us, how he does it. So from start to finish. And we look at the process, we ask a lot of, questions to try to identify the areas that can be improved. And then after that, we map out the process. And as we said, we do this value stream mapping, where we try to see where are all of the waste. We want to categorize them, and then we want to give suggestions on how they can be eliminated. So here, as you can see, there are a lot of tools. You don't need to use all of them. There's not, let's say, a specific combination of tools that you can use. The important thing is that all of them are meant to be, simple, easy to use, and adaptable, towards every type of, let's say, organization. So here are some of the examples, like now, of implementing Lean, and what impact can Lean bring when you introduce it. So here, for example, you have an example of a company that wanted to introduce a new product, or which is smartphone. And as you can see, these were the stats that the company had, let's say, before introducing Lean. So as you can see, they had a pretty substantial duration of the new product introduction, process, which was, 2 months. So they had a longer duration. They had unnecessary consumption of resources. They had also a pretty high errors in the process, which led to a lot of complaints, and also lack of adaptability to the market. And when they implemented some of these Lean tools, as I said, the main one, which was identifying, these value or non-value added activities, they were able to reduce their process duration by 33%, so down to 20 days. And also, of course, all of the other things were reduced as well. So they were able to have a pretty better version of their process. So this is the example of value stream mapping. So as you can see on the upper side, this is just a clear process map. As you can see, it doesn't tell you much, right? So here you can see the activities, you can see who is doing the process, you can see the responsibility, but you don't see what's the problem, right? So and then on the bottom, you can see now with this color coding, you can see which activities are business value added, customer value added, or non-value added. So the blue color usually represents the business value added activities. The red ones, of course, are the wastes. These are the ones that we try to eliminate. And the green ones are the ones that, as we said, the customer is willing to pay. Here we don't have them. Usually, you won't have them in every process. It will be only in a few of them where you would be able to, let's say, see them as well. And then here is an example of how the process looks like after we eliminate the waste. So on the left, you can see there were a lot of wastes in the process that we were looking at. Usually it was over-processing. So people sometimes, because they are insecure about their work, because of the, human factor, so making a mistake, they had a lot of these over-processing by copying, some information, putting it in Excel, and then doing some formulas to check to make sure that they put everything in place, that everything is fine, that everything is good, and all of those things are actually not necessary for the process to be completed. This is something just that people are doing to reassure themselves that everything is fine, but it doesn't bring value, let's say, to the company or the client. And as you can see, like after we actually managed to eliminate all of these wastes, which is, I think, a rare case, because you in some cases you will have to have at least some waiting time, or at least some errors in the process. You cannot have, let's say, all the time the perfect process, but we managed to eliminate everything here. And as you can see on the right side, the process had only business value added and customer value added activities. This one is something that I wanted to give an example of something that you can do also on a personal level. So this is Harada method that can help you with setting clear goals and creating, let's say, a skill development or personal development plan. So this one was interesting for me. I once used it and it was, pretty effective. So I kind of kept a similar structure personally. What you can do is, for example, that I added here. So in the center, you want to have your main goal. And for example, I added here that a person wants to become, let's say, a senior developer within 1 year. So it's really important to have some deadline or some time frame for this goal. And then what you want to do is you want to create 9, let's say, areas or sub goals, areas that need to be fulfilled in order for you to complete or achieve your goal. So here, for example, in order for this person to become a senior developer within 1 year, they need to do some projects, of course, and gain some experience. They need to collaborate with, their team, with other teams as well, with the client, again, to achieve more knowledge. They need to watch out also of their health and fitness. So they need to exercise, they need to rest, they need to eat healthy, because that will enable them to have, a good health and energy to, work on these goals. Then they need to practice, coding. So whichever programming languages they're using, they also need to save some time and use, and use it to see their family, friends, relatives, because that's something that's also impacting, their health and well-being. Then they need to also collect, feedback, as much feedback as possible from their seniors, from their team leads, managers, and clients, and so on, in order to adjust and plan, some future changes. Then they also need to acquire some business skills. So they need to not just be focused on, the programming itself, but also understanding the business needs and how the business function in order to adapt better towards the customer requests. And maybe also they need some special, certification they need to acquire towards this goal, becoming a senior developer. So this is something that then for each area you want to then create, again, some goals, usually 9 of them. So that can help you to be even more specific, and that you can, let's say, add some deadlines and add some plan for which week or month you're going to do each part. So for example, if we talk about certification. Here you can put some 9 certificates that you want to achieve, or maybe 3 of them. It doesn't have to be 9. Like I said, this is just let's say a general template or the approach. And you can list out the certificates that you want to achieve. Let's say for project and experience, again, you want to say that you want to be at least on several projects throughout the year that can help you, with your growth. And same for all other areas. So this could be something that you can use for your personal development as well. And then this, let's say, last part is something that I wanted to show you how Lean can be used with other initiatives. And that's the best way how to do it. So it's not something that can be used exclusively and without any impact on other things that you do in your company. So, for example, in our case, we often deal with, some process of, optimization projects or automation projects that involve, implementation of certain technologies. So here we wanted to show the combination and power of using both. So especially now in the digital era, and, you cannot avoid, let's say, using some, IT, tools, solutions, software programs, and so on. So it's best to kind of combine the best of both worlds. So as you can see, if you only use Lean, or you only use some automation technology, in this case, we're talking about RPA, or robotic process automation, you can achieve some results, of course, you can achieve some improvements, but you won't be able to, let's say, use and achieve full benefits and full potentials that both approaches have. So if we talk about Lean, yes, you will be able to have a, let's say, more efficient process with less errors, but you will still remain doing some things, let's say, manually. It will still be something that is stressful to the people who do it, or time-consuming, monotonous, and so on. If we talk about RPA and using RPA only, yes, you can make your process quicker. You can also, let's say, eliminate this manual work that people need to do. But this process will still maybe have some errors. It will still have some waiting time. It will still have some wastes because you didn't, let's say, apply Lean. So what we do, we notice, let's say, these problems within the, in the market and within other companies that were using one another. So we decided to introduce this new approach, Lean process automation. So what we did is we combined these two approaches. So when we are doing our analysis, for example, of processes for automation, we also try to optimize them or eliminate, these wastes in the process by using Lean as well. And as you can see, that enables us to have, let's say, the best case scenario, which is, efficient process, but also a stable, process without wastes that is much more sustainable. Because when you change then your systems, or you are introducing something new in the company, when you have a good established stable process, it's much easier to do this transition. So we think that this is something that is really important to have in your company, and this knowledge of Lean, because you can combine it with some other things that you want to do. We had many cases where companies, again, were doing migrations from, let's say, one ERP system to another without sorting out their processes. And the result was, they had a new ERP and they still had some issues that were the same. They only solved a part of the issues, let's say, that were more related to technical, let's say, problems. But the process problems still remained, so it wasn't enough. So combining Lean knowledge with this is something that kind of gives you then the best way. Okay, so we reached out, the end of, let's say, the presentation. Of course, even though I tried to maybe highlight and give some of the key parts, it's still a lot of things to sink in. But definitely, of course, there's much more to explore, and we just wanted to give you some key guidelines. Of course, you can always reach out to us for more information about that. So I see that we have one question. So I will read it out. So you mentioned the lean is one of the management philosophies. What are the other most common ones? Do they differ much from lean? If lean increases the workflow, productivity, atmosphere so much, do then all companies strive to implement it? Why would they want anything else? Is because they don't know how to implement. Yeah. So you have, let's say, it is a good question. It's not stupid, or it's not wrong. So yeah, there are other management philosophies. Some of them are linked, such as, if we're talking about process improvement, like problem solving or agile and so on. But there are some others that are maybe more specific towards some industry. But yeah, they're usually the main link with all of these philosophies is that they are trying to, let's say, give you a general common sense of how to maybe manage your company or change your company, improve your company. So lean is maybe not more focused on processes. Maybe some management philosophies are more focused on people and teams. Some of them are focused more on management side, but they all kind of, every one of them is linked to processes and because everybody participates in them. So yeah, even though, as we said, lean is simple, it's pretty obvious and so on, why some companies don't implement it or don't know how. Like I said, you can use example like on your personal example. So sometimes maybe you did something that was wrong, or you didn't do something, and even though you knew that it's a good thing to do, or you shouldn't skip that day or something like that. So the most common one is maybe dieting. So for example, which foods are healthy, which are not, but you still sometimes eat something that's unhealthy. So it's always related to that, let's say, human side, or changing your mindset and your character. It works same within the companies. That is why I highlighted this part of creating this organizational culture of lean, and empowering people to question processes and to challenge them, and to not be satisfied always with the current state, and don't have fear of asking this question or suggesting something or trying to improve something. So it's very challenging for companies to implement that, because it requires a lot of different factors. It requires changes from the management side, from the middle management side, and also from operational side. But it comes down to just people trying to be willing to change, and then creating some plan or structure on how to do it. So yeah, another factor that plays a role, it is lack of information on how to implement lean and everything. But again, it again returns to the first part, which is deciding that you need to change, that your company needs to change, it needs to be better, the processes need to be improved. Once you decide that, of course, the first step that you're going to do is you're going to explore how you can do that. And then you can find a lot of things on the internet, or you can contact companies such as Simplify to help you with understanding your problems and prepare a great a customized roadmap on how to do it. So it's the same with other initiatives as well. When we talk about introducing some software tools or process automations, or other ways to improve your work, it's understandable for majority of people, that it can save them money, it can help them. But like I said, it's the mindset, it's the fear of change, it's uncertainty that's preventing people from taking the next step. Okay, so yeah, I hope that I answered your question. But feel free, yeah, to write, in my DM, or you can also put another comment here in the live. So yeah, we reached out then to the end of the webinar. We okay, thanks. We didn't have any more questions, so I just wanted to say that feel free to follow our LinkedIn page, because we have some more webinars up ahead, and they're all kind of linked in between, and share some common story, which is attention to business processes, improving them, and then having a sustainable automation at the end. So of course, you can also reach out to me in my DM through LinkedIn. So for any other questions or some topics that you would like to maybe hear in the next webinars, maybe something that you would like to share from your personal experience about Lean and how you implemented, or some challenges that you faced in your organization, we'll be happy to share them also on our page, because I think it's also something that is important, is to share the experience and create this network of people that want to give and share their knowledge as well. So yeah, thank you everyone for watching, and yeah, hope to see you soon on our future webinars. Wish you all a great rest of the day, and talk to you soon.